Good morning, Ann Arbor. I'm Molly Schwall, president of Empty Mug Records.
And I'm Rojin, booking head.
Today, we are so excited to introduce the band Melt, a New York City-based ethereal pop, soul, and psychedelic fusion band that's been around since they formed in high school in 2017. Empty Mug Records will also be collaborating with the band for their show in Ann Arbor, September 16th at the Blind Pig. So I saw y'all posted very recently about your upcoming tour, and that includes a lot of audience involvement and engagement and some stuff with live recordings. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. We're kicking off in 2 weeks. It's an exciting time. There's a lot to do. And simultaneously, as we're prepping for this tour, we're thinking about our debut album. We have an EP out now and some singles, but for much of our time as a band, we were at separate colleges and weren't able to unite and make an album. And that has grown us in a unique way where we really are a live band. Like, we throughout the years got to see each other for these weekends where we'd unite and play live shows. And I think it's been a really cool element of our growth. And it's something we've always thought a lot about. How can we bring that live energy into the studio and make it just as exciting and just as new? And we finally had the idea to literally bring the recording on tour. We're going to be miking the audience every night. We're going to be workshopping new songs every night. And hopefully, ideally, we'll be using some of that audio actually in the album in the hopes that that quintessential live Melt vibe will be kind of immortalized in our discography, which is really what we're looking to put into our debut album. We'll see how it goes.
Oh my gosh, that's actually so cool and incredibly like unique and new. And that I'll be so excited to hear how that like works out with your album and everything. And
Me
going
too.
off of that,
Yeah.
I mean like that's always one of like the hardest parts about like being a live band and doing live gigs is doing it in a studio, like in the almost like closed off of a studio. So that's so cool. And like coming up with new ideas and experimenting in your music, like how do you like exactly come up with that? Is it like one band member that comes up with it, or is it like you guys collectively immerse yourselves in like new experiences to kind of like formulate new ideas, or how does that sort of work with coming up with new ideas in your music?
Well, that idea, I feel like, was pretty much Veronica's brainchild. And uh,
Uh-oh.
I think you get the credit from totally. But I think, the three of us call maybe once a day and try to plan things. I think a lot of that ends up being just throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. We're definitely figuring it all out as we do it. So it's kind of that process of trial and error, and like every idea is a good idea. Um, and yeah, I think it's just a lot of talking to each other is where that comes from, and seeing each other every day or talking every day.
Well, not only do we talk on the phone, but when we're not on the phone with each other, we are in the car together, driving to places like Ohio or wherever we go, talking as well. We talk a
And
lot.
when we're not in the car together, we're having sleepovers.
When we're not doing all these things. No, but my point was we actually also go places. And like the other day, we were having rehearsal and we got way jammier than we ever have been. And now like we have 2 10-minute songs, which is interesting. But it's like I was just thinking, we went to this festival in Thornville, Ohio, and played to like literal, like there were dinosaurs, like figures of dinosaurs in the crowd. And I just think like doing that like has to set the music. Like, there's
Doesn't
no
mean all like actual like structures of dinosaurs that were
like
like
true
30
dinosaur.
feet tall.
I mean, it's not what you also like. People call people dinosaurs. It was not the people. They were
Yeah.
literal dinosaur models. So,
I
like, I like all these experience we have. We played Peach Fest this summer. We played Levitate this summer, and some other festivals. But like, those were both really huge. And I think like just doing that and seeing all the other bands and seeing what people do like has to impact our choices as well. So just life and phone calls is what we got.
Do you feel like most of the music making you do is pretty internalized, like in the band, or do you collab with like other artists in performance? Or like I know that you collaborate with visual artists for like designing album covers, so how does that collaboration work?
Mm. Yeah, a lot of our songwriting, all of our songwriting is internal. And something that I think plays into this idea of starting to record the debut album on tour is that we've been a band for 5 years now, and we started in high school and we were really young. And we kind of came into it with not only a sense of wonder, but also a sense of being the new kids on the block and not necessarily always knowing how to make our ideas a reality, and sometimes deferring to the engineer in the room. And luckily, we were in the room with some fantastic engineers who were able to guide us on that journey. But I think as we find this new phase of our music, a lot of it is about looking to each other even more and trusting ourselves as the artists we've evolved into, and knowing that no matter what the music sounds like, if it's the five of us, it's Melt. And seeing and trusting each other and seeing where that takes us. So musically, a lot of times it's just the five of us. For the EP, we worked with Aaron Nevezi at the Bunker, who was our engineer and producer, co-producer with the band. And then, yeah, we have a lot of visual artists who we've been super lucky to work with, who kind of help us bring the vibe of the music into our more visual domain. I don't know if you guys have anything to add there.
We
Just
draw inspiration, I think, from a lot of people, as Veronica's mentioned, like from shows, from the crowd, from I think other musicians around us that we like look up to and then inspire us. But where I think we're looking inwards now, trying to cultivate our band musical and personal relationships.
It's funny too. It's like we have so many instruments across all of us. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like I play guitar, man. I'm like, I wish so and so could play guitar in the song. Like that would be so sick. But it's me. So but that said, it's like, we have so many instruments. It's hard to, collaborate with other musicians sometimes, just because we're seven, and it's hard to get 7 people already in a recording studio. So to add an eighth could be a lot, but like there are so many people I just dream of like a crazy solo from, but we have the players. So, and it's more of just like admiration and like, not that we're actually like wishing they would do it, but it's just like I think we all like fantasize sometimes. Like I won't say who, but when we were recording our EP, there was a really famous keyboard player in the other room at the studio, and the whole week we were just like, how can we get him on the record? How can we get him to take the keys? So like, how can we do this? But we were too scared, and we only gave him cookies instead. So that's how that turned out.
That's so sweet though. Cookies for the keyboardists. Like, I'm sure that they love them. But wait, speaking of like people you want to like collab with, do you have any artists that you, I don't know, like sort of a dream artist collab? Even like let's say there is a studio that can take 8 people or however many people you want. Sort of like, do you have any artists that you really want to work with in the future, or maybe in like some reality you could work with them, whether dream or in this current reality?
We're all silent because there are like too many to count. Eric, I see you thinking over there.
I mean, yeah, there are like a million people. I think something that's on our mind is if we were to onboard another person to the creative process, would probably be a producer. So I think we've definitely thrown around different producers that we really respect. I know like Blake Mills is awesome, or
We're all obsessed with Jeff Tweedy.
I
songwriting
also think we
god.
could go like bigger, like Dolly Parton. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what if Dolly Parton sang, like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine her taking a verse on Waves. It's hilarious. Like, I don't even know what that would sound.
Yes.
That's good, Dolly.
You know,
Parton,
like I'm thinking like legends. Like, what legends can we
right.
collaborate
In
with?
case you want to know like how our phone calls go, it's like this, where if
It's
someone
this.
says one thing, and others like, well, what about Dolly Parton?
And
they're
then
like,
it's like, you know, like Veronica, like you sound great, but also like it could be cool to have Dolly Parton. And it's like this, but it's complicated when you're like, oh my God, so and so, like they're in the room, they could take a key solo, like Eric, you play the keys and you're great. And it's like this, like we would love to collaborate with all these people, but we are also a band, so we got to figure out how we could do that. You know,
I see many collaborations in our future. I feel like we're a group who loves to collab. I think we're just at a unique moment where for the first time we're kind of like, okay, not for the first time. I'll give us a little more credit than that, but we're like, who are we? You know, like I think a debut album is such a daunting thing, and it feels like the moment where you like present yourself to the world. And so it takes a lot of us just like sitting around and getting existential about our creative process.
but we will have Dolly Parton.
But
on
next,
the
Dolly
album.
Parton. Album 2,
Confirmed.
that's John Mayer, Dolly Parton, etc.
There we go.
Molly has a Dolly Parton poster.
Love it.
Molly, do you have something you want to ask?
Sure, yeah. So what made y'all sure that music was something you seriously wanted to pursue? And especially with having like a hit song come out at such a young age, uh, do you feel like you were kind of forced into it or like there was no way out? Or also do you feel a lot of pressure to create another hit that's bigger than Sour Candy?
I don't think.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
you go.
all of us
You
at
go,
once.
Ryan.
Go for it.
No, you go. You go.
Marlo, okay. I'm gonna trudge forward, and then you'll take it when I start getting boring. I think all of us see Sour Candy's success as like one of the best things that ever happened to us. Like it was just crazy and awesome that occurred. Um, and I do often ask myself, like, you know, I always wanted to be a musician. I know, Eric, you've been musical from the time you could walk. Marlo, so have you. And like, we probably all dreamed of being a musician in some capacity, and maybe we're like taking steps to go down that road. But Sour Candy did come out of nowhere and made it like a viable path for us, which is truly incredible. But I do often ask myself, like, what would this look like if that hadn't happened? Like, would I still be here playing in bars or like doing solo music and trying to make it work? And in some ways, that question's like almost not worth asking because it did thankfully shake out this way. Um, and I do think that for the first little chunk of our time as a band, there was a lot of pressure. We were very much slotted into the like neo soul world. And we did think that that's where we had fit and what had worked. And over the years, I think we liberated ourselves a bit more to explore, and our tastes have changed so much over the past 5 years. I think it's very much reflected in our music. But I think it's one of our strengths that we're always super down to support each other's evolutions, and it makes the music different every time.
I think we have other hits. I think we just have to release them, you know. I guess I don't know when this interview is coming out. There may or may not be a new song on right on the horizon. And I think that song is just so killer. And like just in terms of like purely on a sonical standpoint, when we recorded Sour Candy, we had never been in a recording studio. Like I don't know what we were doing, being like, we're gonna go to this awesome place. Like it was, I'm so glad we did, but one of those things we didn't think about really like at all. It wasn't like this is what we're gonna do first. Like we were truly just like all pretty much had never really been in a recording studio and there for the day, and we hit record That was pretty much it. Like that's all we did. We didn't really say, oh, like let's try to get this keyboard in and let's like listen to this. But we left for the day with the song, and that's the song that is on the internet now. But now we're kind of just being way more picky, and we've learned a lot over the last few years about like what we like and what sounds and all that. And I think that our sonic recorded music is going to evolve a lot, and I think just with that there's going to be hits. So hopefully, like fingers crossed, but I think it's crazy just how much momentum one song can give you. And we're also talking about a relatively small scale, right? It's not like the song I think maybe has 8 million streams. Some people get like, you know what I mean? It's like it's all relative, right? And it shows that just like you can have success within like a genre or a world, and there's so many, and there's ways for that to grow and not, but it's just like a really interesting thing that one song has like paved this whole career for us for the past 5 years and is allowing us to go on this tour. So it would be interesting, just like we only have a very few songs out, so I'm always just like, what if we had an album out? What if we had this other stuff, whether or not it's a hit, but like just purely quantity, I think would be great for us to get out there. So that's kind of what we want to do.
That's so cool. Speaking of like cool concerts you've been to, like literally being in like almost like a Jurassic Park sort of gig. I don't even know, there are dinosaurs in the crowd, like pterodactyls. I don't even know, but that sounds really cool. Do you have any like other favorite moments that you've been, whether as a band collectively in like a studio, or have you had moments on tour? Like what have been your favorite gigs or favorite things? Oh my God. Wait, that's called a Bronchiosaurus, I think. She's long. Jesus. How do they, I don't even know how they make that.
I think there was a movie that had filmed there, and then those dinosaurs got left. I think that's what happened, but
Wow.
Hmm.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh. And
We
cool.
also performed at Dog Mountain this summer,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is, do you guys remember the artist name who it's dedicated to? That's
No.
okay. We'll look it up. But it's in Vermont, and it's literally a mountain for owners to take their dogs on hikes. And there's a whole museum of this artist's work that's like all dog statues, like dressed up as humans. And we performed to like a dozen dogs on this huge hill. So that
The
was
dog
oh yeah,
chapel.
Marlo with yep, there's the dog chapel. We've seen some wacky stuff. What else have we seen?
we've seen oh my God, I mean, this is kind of dark, but like you do see weird stuff. Like we saw that billboard that says hell is real.
Oh, a lot of billboards in this
Weird
country,
stuff.
I will say.
That
Hell
was
is real.
freaky. You're just driving and then you look over and it's this billboard, and it's like, why do you have to say this right now? My goodness.
Wait, where was that fair that we stopped when we were
Oh,
driving in the south?
Georgia.
Maysville.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. That
Where was
was
that? On the
Highlight.
way, it was in between North Carolina. Where were we going? We were coming from Atlanta.
going from Atlanta to Charlotte. Yeah.
And we were like, all right, we should stop off, pull for lunch. And we are on the highway, and we pass this town fair. This was what, December last
Yeah.
year. Past this town fair. It was beautiful out for some reason. And we got this incredible, the tiny little
Gumbo.
Gumbo. Marlo rode a horse.
She almost kidnapped a dog.
Yeah, there's the Christmas
Puppy.
dancers.
It was
Oh.
absolutely insane. This is, I think, a pony.
Wait, move it over a little.
It
Oh
was
yeah, Marlo loves ponies.
we always
Just
find
so
it-
many like random things we've seen together that no one else will ever understand.
Yeah. And we're about to do that for a full month on tour. What
Yeah, 3 kind of.
will happen?
Mm.
But I think week 2.5 of being in that van, and we're actually going to be in the South, and like have some days off and traveling between, you know, Nashville and Athens, Georgia. I think that's the routing. I'm not totally sure, but we're gonna find something.
Yeah, I'm from that area. I'm from Kentucky, so
Ooh,
I have seen very odd things in my life. The South brings out the oddest circumstances.
But the
we
best.
love it.
The
That's
best, agreed.
hilarious.
Would you guys ever be interested in touring outside of the US?
Yes. Hard yes.
We're going to
I hope
Canada.
that's like,
We're playing 2 shows in Canada on this tour, but we would love to go to even further out. You know, take it worldwide. You know, I think that'd be awesome. Make a little vacation.
definitely.
You know, do
I
we
think
pull
it'd be good for
Avril
band
Lavigne?
morale.
You know how Avril Lavigne released a comic or boyfriend or it's a gay boy, one of them in all the languages, a girlfriend, one of those songs. Like, is that what you have to do to tour internationally? I don't know. Someone tell us. Hopefully we don't have to do that. But,
I've been right
it.
now I'm traveling, I'm visiting some family in France, and I've been recruiting everyone here. Everyone. So obviously we'll have a massive fan base here and just in time for us to do a Europe tour. Manifest it.
Word of mouth is everything.
Everything. Colleges. Getting the
Colleges.
you guys do makes it all possible.
I went to a jam at a conservatory out here. It was great.
Yeah.
So what did you sing?
Uh-huh.
Hey, what did you sing? Vowels or words?
Words.
What
I
word?
sang words. I sang Valerie.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. So we're working on it.
That's so cool. Speaking of going outside, so what would your dream like musical excursion be? Because like you know how there are artists like Bjork who goes to like Spain and records the entire album in Spain, or like Harry Styles goes to Jamaica and records that entire album just in Jamaica. Would you prefer something where it's sort of like you're almost in like a music bubble and you're in this place outside an excursion and you kind of record a whole album there, or are you sort of like a band that you would want to be like with the people and like you don't want to be isolated when you record an album like that?
I think there are merits to both, and we all have like different visions of our ideal. Like, I think for me, I would love to be like, let's record the album like in a shack somewhere, or like, let's go to Normandy and record the album. And I think, Marlo, I don't want to speak for you, but you're like, let's be among this New York City people, like our people, and record. I think there are merits to both.
I think oftentimes like people really can like there's a general fantasy of like, and I don't really know because we've never done it. So maybe it is the best thing ever, but I think there's this general idea of like, let's go to like wherever, like Montana, and we'll find a producer in a beautiful studio and be in the mountains, which all sounds so good. But then it's like, I hope it goes well. I don't know. Like, I kind of also feel like it's nice to be like, okay, I'm at the studio now, I'm back in New York City. Like, because it's like, what is authentic to the way you perform and deliver the music? Like, is it going to this new place, or is it staying integrated like in your regular life? And I don't think there's an answer. I just think like, now that I'm thinking about it, going to Montana sounds way sicker. So we'll have to do that.
It's also how you make the album. You know, if you want to go and do it in like a 2-week chunk and then you have a whole album done, or a month, or whatever it is, or if it's something that we'll be making over months and months of like going to a studio, recording something, sitting with it, going back, and both are they have different merits, and like I think it makes them very different.
Also with the band, I think it's different. Like, I think that especially with 7 people, like time in the studio is kind of different because you're trying to get to the next person. And I think that some like it can be harder to focus in on like an individual tracking. And so we're really still trying to figure out how to do it in terms of like what is our best process. So like even beyond like where we're traveling to, it's like how are we doing it regardless of where we are. is it that everyone is in the room, or is it that one person is in the room? Like, you know, there's like vibes are so important, like the energy you're giving and getting, and like at the end of the 10-hour day when like you're tired and sitting on the couch but someone else is tracking, like what energy are you giving them? So it's so complicated, and we just don't even, we don't really have any answers.
With the whole process of touring, is it super grassroots and do y'all do most of the connections or do you have someone that manages that?
We do most of the tour prep. And it's always been that way. And we've learned a lot. And I think we've learned how to work together really well. But I think at this point in our career, as it grows a little bit, we're definitely ready to like find those people who we can onboard to help us brainstorm and make life a little easier. And we've like slowly been growing the team. So Marlo, Eric, and I still do a lot of the administrative work, but we're very slowly bringing on people we really trust to add a lot to the whole experience. It's nice to have people like
Yeah,
help us out with all this stuff.
we have awesome agents who like book the whole tour, and then
Yeah.
it kind of falls on us to coordinate the travel and the logistics and promoting it and
Even
Yeah.
playing the shows, that is one of the responsibilities we have as well.
right.
And I think because we don't have managers, our agents have taken on like a very like advice giving role for us as the people who've like worked in the industry the longest. So like our agents are totally some of our main confidants in all of this. Like, and I think that kind of is so consistent with how we are as a band because again, we're just like such a live band. Like we love playing shows more than anything. And I think it makes so much sense for us that at this point our agents are like the main pillars of our team. Although I'm sure it'll grow even more in the future.
So sweet.
We love them.
Oh, shout out to agents.
Shout
Shout out to
out.
your agents.
Joe and Guy.
Joe and Guy.
Oh. Also like because you have to arrange all of your tour and stuff. This is sort of like a superlative question, but who is the fastest person in your band with like setting up gear for a show? Who can really whip out that gear real fast and set it up?
Well, like Nick,
Probably
for instance, doesn't even have to do anything. You know, he just puts in his read and is good to
But he has to ask for an XLR cable every night, so
go.
that's a delay.
true.
So that takes actually the longest.
Maybe.
It's complicated. It's like for me, I have like 3 outlets that I need, or maybe 4. So it's like, and I have an amp where instead of having a 50-pound thing, like it's divided into 3 chunks, which makes every chunk like 15 pounds. So when Veronica's not there to carry it for me, I can do it myself. But like I literally had a stress dream the other night that there weren't enough outlets, and we were playing this huge show, like outside on New York City. And I was like, and there was another guitar player, and there were like 2 more. There was
Whoa.
like, it was so stressful, and it was the best show we ever played. And I didn't get to play anything. So anyway, that's just a little dip into my consciousness. But I think I take the longest to set up my gear because I have to do so many trips. But I'm the fastest in other ways because I'm dedicated to those trips.
Marlo does the amp trips.
I do them all.
Since such a large part of what you do is performing live, what's been like your favorite gig so far? And like, do you prefer more intimate venues or larger places?
I think it's often the most unexpected gigs that end up being the best ones. And of course, like the ones we really hype up in our heads, like playing Music Hall of Williamsburg last year or Brighton Music Hall in Boston, like those were the gigs we were really looking forward to, and they absolutely lived up to expectations, and it was amazing to like see all of our friends and family in the audience. But on the other hand, like we played a gig in, was it Thornville, Ohio,
Mhm.
where we just had no expectations, and there ended up being a massive turnout, and it was like one of the best nights for us. Or we just played Levitate Music Festival, which we had a daytime slot for, and we weren't sure what the turnout would be. And then it was like by far our biggest festival set ever. And I think just having those moments where you're like, holy shit, I did not expect this, sometimes makes it, you just don't have any expectations for the night. And there's like no pressure. So those always end up being my favorite.
I'm from like the next town over from Marshfield, so shout out Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Also, like I think of some early or shows maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We were opening for Sammy Ray at venues like the Sinclair. Like that was, and LPR in New York. I think that was the first time we were really playing for a bigger crowd. And those were like, whoa, this is awesome. This is a great feeling. We love this. And now I think it's really cool. We're going back to Boston. We're playing. We just sold out the Sinclair show, which is now our own show. We're gonna later today low key announce a second night at the Sinclair, which is super exciting. So I think it's also those kind of full circle moments that feel really special. I think going back there is going to be awesome. But the room was there for us this time.
Yeah. The Sinclair, I went to college in Massachusetts, and the Sinclair was where I would go to like remember that I was an artist when I was like falling behind on papers and super stressed out and like total disorganized mess. I would like completely procrastinate from the task at hand and catch whatever show is at the Sinclair and just remember like there is life outside of writing papers. Like I am an artist. So I'm really excited to play there again.
You can be like, everyone here from Harvard, don't forget it.
Get out.
You are an artist.
Just kidding.
Say it out loud. I am an artist.
Say it with me.
Because I forgot. I'm on the stage right now. I'm still thinking about all those papers. Oh, Austin, why do you do this?
I'm gonna invite all my professors to the show and just give a 10-minute public apology.
Yes, that's such a good idea. Wait, we can make like an apology song and be like, this is the apology show. And that's how we should be like second night at the Sinclair. It's time
Veronica apologizes.
For every late paper. It'll take an hour.
Yeah, you're gonna go on a solo.
Yeah.
For the apology song.
It'll just be a monologue.
See, this is what we do every day.
Yeah, I think this tour is gonna be awesome too. It's gonna be the first time we're playing shows where some of the band isn't, writing an essay in the green room 15 minutes before we go on stage, because that was real. And we're all out of school now. And I think that'll be a big relief to be able to actually just focus on the shows when we're there.
Agreed.
Since you all did your own thing and have stayed together, what's been the main driving force that's kept you in touch and just kept the stamina going?
I think the people.
Love.
Yeah. I think that's definitely it. It's like the connections and the relationships, and building those relationships musically and personally is the most rewarding. I think we all say that every night we play a show. The best part is looking over the stage and seeing Marlo taking this insane guitar solo, Veronica singing something.
That is the best part, you're right.
Yeah, it is. And it's like you're standing there like, holy shit, that was insane, and you're sharing that moment with them, or with with the band and these people you've like grown up together with. And I think definitely, if not for that, it wouldn't have, or that's the reason I think we go to the rehearsals and do the planning and do everything. So yeah.
There's also this weird illusion where like because it's, imagine this, ready? You're just on the phone with your friends all day, every day, hanging out, having sleepovers. And then like the small time of that is that you're actually on the stage doing the thing. Like all these moments we've referenced are about 40 minutes to an hour as like being the big things, right? Like when we opened for Samurai at the Sinclair, that was a 40-minute set. But that's what we credit as like that was a big moment for us all. It was 40 minutes of our life. So it's like, I mean, it's probably the same thing with like being an athlete, all that stuff. But it's this weird transition. It's like, okay, now we're all facing forward, like towards this audience that's looking back at us doing this totally different thing, like making music. And like looking over at Eric, we make eye contact usually like 30 minutes into the show, and it is so funny every time. It's just
Start
like,
cracking up.
what's over there? Yeah, it's
And I
just
think, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I do think that we get along like remarkably well. Like I think we are family, and I definitely think of all of the band as family, and that's very much what our relationships are like. And I also think that a huge part of it that I think sometimes goes discounted on our end because we love each other so much is like we were really lucky to have a community of people we didn't know from the very beginning saying there's something here. Um, and I'm not sure that we always would have believed in ourselves as fully if there hadn't been those people there saying that. Like I like to think that we would have. And we all certainly do believe in what's going on, and like we love playing music together more than anything. Um, but I think that we also had a really uniquely challenging situation, like staying together as a band in all different cities and like coordinating getting together for shows with no rehearsal. And that's what it looked like for a couple years. But there was like a core group that was steadily growing who would come out to those shows and like tell us this means something to us. And a lot of those people are like our age and we know them personally now. And it's like the best community. Like it's just so awesome. We love hanging out with them. Um, so it's the community of the band, but it's for sure also the larger community of like the whole Melt family, and our families, and like just everyone who's encouraged us and made it possible despite weird circumstances.
How large of a role do you think social media has played in connecting you to the fans?
Honestly, large. I have very conflicting feelings about social media just as an individual, obviously, as we all do. And sometimes I struggle with like working on social media in that capacity for the band. But especially on Instagram for us, like, and I think different bands have like different platforms where their community really thrives. Like it's been totally essential for us because we get to like even just the usernames that I see pop up over the years, like I know those people now when they come to the show. And I think a lot about like what Instagram is like, and especially when you start as an art form as five people making music, and then it further gets obscured into a recording, and then it further gets obscured into your AirPods, and then it further gets obscured like onto a box on your social media. Like I just have so many questions about like what is social media as it relates to this art form, and how can it help us express a different dimension of our artistic vision, and in what ways is it just like a fake thing where it's like not really helping us in many ways. And like I think over the years we've tried to tap into those parts of it that can add a unique layer, like bringing people together from different states, or Marlo and I going live at 4 a.m. when we're delirious from a show and like letting people in on that silly little aspect of the band. But it's played a huge role for sure.
Um, what is something about your music that you wish more people knew?
that I think about 28 minutes in our current set is guitar solos. Nobody knows that. I'm just kidding. No. I think that our recorded discography, like sounds so different than how we perform live. And I always feel like every time we make something new, I'm like, oh, why can't, this be, you know what I mean? It's just like push pull of like we're constantly evolving. And I think like there's this really like this idea of us that like sour candy is our sound and like our greatest product and us at our greatest. And I it is a great song, but we were 17 and 18 and now we're 23, 24. So I'd like to believe that we've evolved a bit. And it's always one of those things where people are like, oh yeah, I checked out the band and Sour Candy. But I just feel like there's so much more to us on that song. And I sometimes wish that like the way Spotify works is like, that's what people are going to hear first. Unless like, we can get that down. But it's this weird thing, like even with like I also like Spotify is weird in this way where it's like I've been listening to Brandy Carlisle a lot lately, and then it's like for whatever reason the algorithm loves to take you to the top 5 songs, and it's like we're so informed by Spotify and how the algorithm like controls us as listeners. And I think that like as creators it's really hard because you can't organize that page and you can't curate it to what you want it to be. And honestly, maybe there should be a platform where it's like Pinterest for your band and like or like Tumblr for your band or something, and it's like here's the music you should listen to, here are the pictures you should see, here are the videos you should watch. But it's like you have to split it across all the platforms and say like go to our YouTube for this, and then like what's the first thing, the video with the most views. And so it's just like it's hard to communicate the evolution of the band when you have to get over those like algorithmic hurdles.
I think that's such a good point. And to relate it to the last question, I think that's what's been cool about Instagram and other forms of social media is that they're just as popular, maybe not as popular as Spotify, but it's a reliable place where like we have control over what we're curating there. And so if I want someone to become familiar with the band and I want them to not only hear our recorded discography, but see some live videos and see our vibe as a band, I know that there are other platforms where we have curated a sense of that where we can send them. But of course, all these social media platforms have an algorithm too, so can't escape Big Brother.
Just one last question for you guys. What are you looking forward to the most for your upcoming trip to Ann Arbor and your show at the Blind Pig on September 16th?
Never been to Ann Arbor, so that's exciting. We have, I think that show will be a good time. We have a special surprise for that night, which maybe we'll announce soon. Not yet. What else?
I mean, I know Michigan like goes hard, right? That's like the thing. Like Michigan is a city of just college students, like hundreds of thousands. So like, let's go. It's gonna be absolutely insane.
Yeah, and you're coming in the best time. Hopefully when you come, it'll be like Ann Arbor's really pretty in the fall time because all the trees, there's so many trees, and when they turn, like the leaves turn different colors. It's like literally the set of like a movie. It's insane. It's so pretty. And yeah, Ann Arbor does go pretty hard, especially like at Empty Mug record gigs. So we'll be promoting all.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so, I mean,
Hell yeah.
Mug seems super cool. And when I was speaking to Ali about it, I was like, oh my God, like, you want to do all these nice things to help us support the show. But I think it just shows that it's like, that's what you do there. Like you're in this community and you got to care about the music you're seeing. So and it's like a Friday night show in the second week of school. Like it's going to be totally crazy. So, you get a lot of music. You don't get it. It's not like you have a million shows to choose from. So it feels really like cool to be the band that's coming on the second week of school and after your first like group meeting of Empty Mug. So we're excited. I have high hopes.
Yay. Also, if you guys have like a sticker for Melt or anything, at the Blind Pig, there are stickers everywhere, and all the bands that perform there, they put their sticker on the wall or like the pole or something. So just like a little thing to bring with you.
All right. We
There's
need
also
stickers. So
We need a new sticker.
this will be the push we needed to get that, make that happen.
There's also a diner right next to the Blind Pig called Fleetwood Diner, and people put stickers there too. So that's a little Ann Arbor thing to do.
Ann Arbor loves stickers.
We gotta up our sticker game.
Gotta bring them to the Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Yay.
We're so excited.
We're so excited to have
In
you.
person so soon.
And thank you for coming and talking to us and sharing some secrets, sharing what your band is like, and really excited to see you perform live. And also like you record the audience. Cool. Like that's so cool. I've never heard that before. So that'll be so interesting to see and like how that works setup wise and everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this and talking to us. We're super stoked for it also.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Okay. How do we stop recording? I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at Zoom, Molly.
I got it.